Hey guys, Mr. Nomad here. Today I'm bringing you a deck profile for Vanguard, Nubatama. The only reason I'm doing a deck profile for this is because our last locals, I did end up winning with it. I ended up beating Nouvelle out in the finals, and I kind of feel like this deck can actually do that because it does have a high pressure early game, and honestly not too bad of a late game. If you can get multiple break rides off, you should be able to win a game. Anyway, so I'm just going to get started. Starter, Kuriko. When he boosts an attack, it hits Vanguard. You can Soul Blast one, get up to 2 bind cards, and send them to the drop zone. So, standard starter. Grade 1 lineups, you got the 4 Perfect Guards, 4 Fukis. He has been eroded, so anybody who was playing with the first round of BT13, of the set 13, he went... When your opponent has 3 or more cards in their hand, you counterblast one, move them to soul, bind a random card out of their hand. This is the card that gives this deck really strong early pressure as well as a late game just push for game. 4 Dreadmaster, another early pressure card. If it boosts and hits, counterblast one. If your opponent has more cards than you, they discard a card. And then 2 random grade, the 8k vanillas, just because I had the extra spots, and I don't like the 7k that counterblast one to give 1,000 boost, because there's really no point to him. For Bear, when he's called to Vanguard or Rearguard, bind a unit on the board that your opponent controls, and that's about it. He is really strong for the early game. Like, if you can get him on your grade 2 ride with a Fuki, you can... It's actually possible to make your opponent skip ride, which I have done before. I don't even remember this guy's name, Kokugio? Anyway, every time a unit is bound by a card effect, he gets plus 2k for the turn. 3 of the 10k vanillas, fine ride target, and his artwork's pretty badass, I'm not gonna lie. Grade 3 lineup, I play 4 of the break ride. I'm playing 8 grade 3s, and so it's gonna be obvious it's gonna be 4 of the other guys. Basically, you want to try to break ride as much as you can in this deck. The break ride, discard a card, makes your opponent discard a card and bind a card. Getting rid of 2 cards in your opponent's hand for a turn can be very dangerous, especially with the starter, where it is possible that the card that they bound is going to disappear from the game. And this guy is actually the reason why I was able to beat Nouvelle Vague, well, other than the early pressure. Oh, and just so you guys know, triggers, it's just Skittles, because it's what you have to play. I feel like this deck would actually be a lot stronger if you were able to play anything but Skittles. Like, I would take 8 stands just for consistency. Anyway, basically on your grade 2 ride, if you can get a Bear and a Fuki... Sorry, I don't remember all the cards' names. They're Japanese and large. With this card and you using Fuki, you get rid of 2 cards in play, basically in your opponent's hand and 1 on the board. And that's a lot of pressure in the early game, and a lot of decks actually have a hard time, like, that can actually hurt a deck's early pressure, as well as set you up for the late game. Every single time against the Nouvelle player, I ended up doing that. Or if I didn't open up, there was a game where I opened up double Bear instead of a Fuki, which was fine. Every time he'd put down a 10 shield and say trigger to pass, and I always hit a trigger. So, Vanguard, you can luck your way into things. So basically how the tournament went is round 1 I got a bye, so I just kind of sat there doing nothing. Round 2 I went against Beastiedes. They ended up pushing me to 5 damage on their grade 2 ride, and I came back and won. I opened up no shield, but I opened up my aggression, which included 2 bears and a Fuki, so I was able to, or 2 bears, I was able just to push back on him. Then after that I went against Tachi. I was able to, I just kind of beat that deck. This card right here is actually the one that got me the game against Tachikaze, because their break ride is a cost to retire units, and if they don't have units on the board, then they can't break ride ever. What else? And then Nouvelle Vague. It was only a 5-round tournament, not too big. Against the Nouvelle player, he had gone undefeated through the rest of the day, and so did I, but that's because I got the bye. Against Nouvelle, you just kind of have to guard early. If you do guard early, you are actually fine. Like, I got him to 4 damage, and I was still sitting at 1. And by the time he broke Road Nouvelle Vague, yeah, I was like, okay, I'll take the first hit and then perfect guard that. Another way you beat Nouvelle is just hold on to your perfect guards. Against most decks, I like to just ride my perfect guard, and I can usually just use everything else to pressure. But against Nouvelle, I just kept my perfect guard in my hand all the time. Anyway, thanks for listening to me rant, guys. This is the Nubatama Deck Profile. Went undefeated at a local, even though it's not a very large local. I still ended up beating Nouvelle Vague. And yeah, so thanks for watching.